Hey guys, we are Team Lsls, and today we are here to present our findings for the research we've been doing for Lone Star logos and signs. Our research has been aimed at measuring the effectiveness of the blue logo signs across the state of Texas. In particular, we've been measuring in the Austin area. Today, our team consists of 5 members, and I'll go through each one and what they're going to cover today. First, we'll have Ian Henderson, who will be introducing the topic, as well as going over the visuals for the primary data. Next, we'll have Francois Roche doing the collection of the primary data. Next, we'll have Elizabeth Sutherland. She'll be discussing how we went about getting different themes for our secondary research. Lastly, we'll have Ahmed Al-Nueme, and he will be discussing the secondary research findings. And then lastly, I will be going over the recommendations and the conclusions. So next, I will hand it off to Ian.
As Will said, I'm going to be introducing our report. First, I want to go over a little bit of the background of our company that we did the report for. Lone Star Logos and Signs is a private company. They are in charge of all the logo board advertisements in Texas. Right now, demand is down for the logo boards, and sales are difficult to come by, so a new selling strategy is needed. Because of this, Will's boss, David Alley, who is the director of sales at Lone Star Logos and Signs, wanted us to gather information concerning the effectiveness of the logo boards. Next, the purpose of our report. Potential investors want to see evidence that these signs will work. They want to know that their investment will pay off. But at this point, Lone Star Logos and Signs does not have any current information regarding this. Our data will give them an opportunity to present accurate information, and it can be used as a new marketing tool. This will give customers a chance to see the results that we came up with. Next, the scope of our report. Data collection was targeted at motorists in the Austin area. Our team received the information of our report from classrooms, peer groups, and homes. And any surveys that were considered invalid were not analyzed. Next, the methods that we use in our report. The team conducted both primary and secondary research. Primary research was gathered by handing out physical surveys. Secondary research was focused on highway statistics, billboards, and other logo companies in other states. Lastly, the organization of our report. The team begins with a detailed analysis of primary and secondary research. Next is a recap of research results. And lastly, the team provides a list of recommendations of the effectiveness of the signs. Now I'm going to hand it off to Francois, who's going to discuss the data collection procedure.
So as Ian said, I'm Francois Roche, and I will talk about the primary data collection. So first of all, who are the population targeted by our survey? It's all the motorists of Texas. So to have the information of the number, we turn to the Office of Driving License in Texas, and we had a number of 13 million people, motorists using car and highway. On this total population, we choose a sample, a representative sample, which can be reached by us with our resources. So it was a sample of 5,000 motorists in the area of Austin to allow us to reach them without crossing on Texas. Then we make the survey, 10 questions. First of all, it was a brainstorming between our team, everything giving this idea and sharing to have the best question and the most relevant question possible. Then we test this question with all of the other group to see if there is some other problem in the formulation or in the sense of the questions. Then we wanted to reach a confidence level of 95%. So to reach this confidence level on 5,000 people, we had to distribute 200 surveys. And we all know that when you submit a survey, none all of them come back or are not usable. So we distribute 240 surveys. And now I will give back the talk to Jan, and he will talk about the analysis and craft.
Again, my name is Ian, and I will be discussing the primary data analysis procedure. The first thing I want to discuss is how we recorded the data. Like Francois said, we distributed a total of 240 surveys. We collected back 220, and out of that 220, there were 12 unusable surveys. Some of these surveys were not completed correctly, and a few had combinations of answers that we deemed contradictory. So there was a total of 208 surveys that were valid and were tallied by 2 of our team members. And we kept all the surveys that had at least 80% of all the questions answered. Next, the difficulties we faced analyzing the data. The first difficulty we ran into was with question 8. It stated, if you answered yes to number 7, please circle all that apply. Some people still answered the questions in number 8 even though they said no in number 7. We just disregarded these answers in our analysis. The second one that gave us the most invalid surveys was contradictory answers for the first 2 questions. We deemed that if somebody answered yes to the first question and no to the second question, that it was a contradictory statement and we had to make those surveys invalid. Lastly, the overview of visual representations. Even with these inconsistencies, the team produced accurate data, which is visually represented by pie charts and bar graphs. Results of each question were converted into these 10 different charts. These are a couple of the charts that we made. One shows the amount, this is the percentage of people who use logo signs while driving, while this one is the percentage of how far people are willing to travel to the destinations on the logo boards. The results of all the other questions will be expanded on later in the report. Now I'm going to hand it off to Shay, who will discuss our secondary research.
As Ian said, my name is Shay Sutherland, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the secondary research that our team conducted. The goal of our research was to get a better understanding about the different signage programs, not only in Texas, but in different states as well, and also to gain a better understanding of the motorists in Austin. So in doing this, first we looked at the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and there they detailed their signage program that they currently have in place, and most importantly, the key benefits of having these highway signs in your state. And this includes increased business credibility, also cost-effective advertising. It also gives the companies an opportunity to advertise beyond the local customers that they have. And it also gives them precise directions exactly where they are located so that the motorists can find them easy. Next, we looked at Texas logos specifically, and their different regulations. And in looking at that, we found the pricing for them, and it was notable that Texas has one of the highest pricing ranges for their highway signs in comparison to other states. They do this based off of traffic counts, and they have 4 different ranges from 1 to 4, which range from 0 to 150 plus traffic count. And there you can get anywhere from a price of $150 in range 1 to a price of upwards of $6,500 in range 4. And so it just shows you how much more pricey Texas signs cost companies. Next, we looked more specifically at Austin and the commuters in Austin. And we looked at the city data website, and this for Austin, and this gave travel time per person for commuters every day. And the average travel time was 10 to 30 minutes, meaning that people spend a good amount of their day going back and forth on the highways. And in addition to this, to back that up, we got from the census information about how these motorists actually get to work. And it showed that the majority of people got to work by driving by themselves, not carpooling, walking, taking the bus or anything. So it's pretty safe to say that a lot of these people are using the highways frequently. Now I'm going to pass it off to Ahmed to talk about the findings.
My name is Ahmed Al-Naimi, as Paul mentioned. I'll be covering the primary and secondary research findings in more detail. So, through giving out the surveys, 2 questions were given, knowing the use of the signs on a regular basis. So, on behalf of the research that has been done by the team, it was found that 82% of the people use them on a regular basis, and 75% look for them when needed. As well, going through the research, 77% would rather use the blue logo signs rather than using the billboards. Also, 60% of people will drive 1 mile, and 24% will travel 2 miles, and 16% will travel a full 3 miles. This is based on either an urban or a rural area. Also, the people that thought the signs were not used was about 0.5%, and as well as 34% of the participants who have trouble seeing the signs. Out of the 70 participants said that the signs were too small, that they weren't able to see them. Also, out of the valid surveys, 35% had difficulties finding the logo signs on the locations, like either on highways or interstates, and for 39% will not drive on the other side of a highway or interstate to get to a location they want. And as for the secondary research findings, the pricing for the logo signs in Texas is one of the highest in the nation. So this is all due to the population of Texas, which is really high. And as the prices increase, it's all based on the traffic volume. So it's been divided like in 4 categories. So as a range, signs costing like from $900 in a main lane and $150 on a ramp, and $1,400 on main lane and $200 on ramp, and the categories go on. As the prices increases as for the signs, the rentals for the company, it's good for the company, but on the other hand, it won't be good for the companies who are going to be renting the signs. So the companies that will rent the space will may stop having signs, which is not going to be good for the company. As well as 79% of motorists drive their cars more likely on the highway, so they use the signs in the interstates and highways. As well as logo signs as well are very good, which since motorists are pressing the need for a product or service. And now I'll pass it over to Will for the recommendation and conclusion.
Thanks, Alan. My name is Will. I'll be covering the recommendations and wrapping up the conclusion. And our main recommendation for the company is to actually use the information we've collected to provide for their customers and present to their customers. We believe that this information will actually boost demand and increase sales. In addition to the main recommendation, we have some others and some steps to how to go about actually presenting this information. First, we recommend that the company upload the charts that we have provided to their website. The 2 charts in particular we believe will be super helpful will be the chart that shows that 80% of people actually use the signs. In addition, actually 75% are actively looking for the signs, which is a great statistic to look at if you are a customer looking at signs. Next, we believe that the company should also upload the billboard information that we've collected. This shows that about 161 participants out of 208 that took our surveys said that the logo signs were more useful than billboards, which is effective for a customer who is debating whether or not they should invest their money in a billboard versus a logo board. Third, we believe that each sales representative should have a shared or saved file of the information we have, and more specifically, the charts that show that participants are willing to travel more than 1 mile off the interstate. That way, if they're in the middle of a sale and the customer is saying that they believe their business is too far off, with this readily information, they can send it to them and hopefully close the sale. Lastly, we believe and recommend the company to send out hard copies of our information to the eligible businesses when the company is building a new sign. So when they go out to an intersection and want to build a new sign, before they do anything, we believe that they should send out the information we have collected, and so the businesses in the area can actually look at the information for themselves before any sales calls are made or visits are made. So to summarize, we covered a wide range of topics. Ian Henderson covered the introduction as well as the visuals on the data. Francois Roche did the primary data collection. Elizabeth Sutherland covered the secondary research. And Ahmed Al-Noueh did the findings both for the primary and secondary research. And then I gave you all the recommendations for our findings, which our main recommendation is for the company to use the information we have collected to boost demand and increase sales for the company. Is there any questions that you all have for us?